Good evening. I haven't done a video in a while, so let's take a real quick look now that Christmas is done. Hopefully you all had a very Merry Christmas, and hopefully we have a great 2025 coming up. As we're closing out 2024, though, we're closing out very warm by December standards. Much of the Ohio Valley is in the 50s, and some of the areas will be pushing near 60 by Saturday. Even the upper Midwest, as you look up here toward Minnesota, where temperatures are in the 30s and 40s, that's still decently above average for up there. And as you look down across the Ohio Valley, this is for Saturday, and we can see mid 50s all through this entire area. And then if you look down in this southern part of it here, even there are some 60s to be had maybe in southern Indiana, southern Ohio. So this is on Saturday, and we've got just decent air all the way up to New Year's Day, and then we'll begin to see a change. So then as we take a look, then by the time we get into, we'll have one cold blast around New Year's Day that'll bring us down closer to average. And then somewhere around the 5th or 6th, we'll be looking at a second cold blast, and that will usher in just some bitterly cold air. So this is a look right here on January 9th, the evening of January 9th, and we can see some very cold air with sub-zero temperatures up into Minnesota, all extending all the way down into central Indiana. Now this is the Europeans' view of it. This may not exactly happen this way, but that does give you a good idea of how deep the cold could be, and it may get even deeper behind that with yet another cold front somewhere in the mid-month. From this distance, January is looking very cold, but December looked colder than what we ended up having. It was cold the first half, and then it warmed up considerably. So we'll take the cold and the snow with a grain of salt, but that's the way things are looking from now. We look at even the GEFS, it's not quite as cold as the European is, but it's more widespread with the cold. So it's not as intense, but more widespread. So we'll see as that time gets closer. The last thing I want to take a look at, again, this is a long way out, so don't be taking it for gospel, but here is the snowfall, the European, its idea for snowfall between January 5th and January 10th. And you can see just this narrow swath of snow kind of coming down through this area into the Ohio Valley and then making the turn and becoming quite heavy in the northeast. Again, this is a long way out. I would suspect that this track is actually going to be a little farther to the southwest. I would actually suspect the track is going to be a little more like this, with the snow being to the north of that black line. But we'll see as that gets closer. If that cold air is deeper and faster, it will push this storm track to the south. Then you could be looking at areas down here in the Tennessee Valley and the central Atlantic coast looking at some snowfall instead. So that's a long way out, and we'll just have to see how that all plays out. And then just for kicks, one last thing here. This is the Europeans' idea, grandfather clock chiming in the background. This is the Europeans' idea for 45 days. This is through February 5th. And you can see it's quite snowy, especially up in the northeast. But and I would actually tend to agree with this area up in here. I actually would come a little farther, more like this. I think the Ohio Valley is a little more sketchy. We could get a wrench thrown into our work. So that's been happening for the last 10 years. And until it doesn't, I kind of would say be cautiously optimistic if you're a snow lover. So that's what I've got for now. Just a quick look at what we got coming up. Enjoy the relatively warm air right now because, again, around New Year's Day, a little sooner for the upper Midwest, up around Minnesota and Wisconsin.